I'd like to call June 1st, 2021 McLeod County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. And I'd like to ask everyone to remain standing after the Pledge of Allegiance in memory and dedication for all those who gave their all defending the constitutional freedoms that we all enjoy today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and good morning, everyone. Consideration of agenda items. Is there any additions or corrections?
Move to approve.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smalls. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. Any additions or corrections to it? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve.
So move.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. COVID-19. Good morning, Barrett.
Thank you, Hannah. As of yesterday, May 30th, due to the holiday, our numbers are from Sunday, May 30th. McLeod County has had a total of 4,281 positive cases of COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic. At our last board meeting on May 17th, Sheila reported 4,268 positive cases, which is an increase of 13 cases in the last couple weeks. So starting to see less cases, which is a good thing. Unfortunately, we have had a total of 61 COVID-related deaths since the start of the pandemic. As always, check out our county website for the COVID-19 dashboard. Those statistics are updated weekly and have a lot more information than I just shared with you. Regarding our vaccination efforts with McLeod County Public Health, we continue to provide vaccinations here at the McLeod County Government Center. Local Public Health has held a total of 44 vaccination clinics to date and administered a total of 8,697 doses. We have one vaccination clinic scheduled for this week, which is scheduled for Thursday. Those clinics are becoming much smaller and less frequent as we see saturation in the populations that are interested in getting the vaccine, and also a number of options. People can go to their clinics, their pharmacy to get vaccinated as well. We continue to vaccinate with Moderna, which is for those who are 18 and older. We have worked with schools to see if parents are interested in vaccinating. Kind of some mixed results there, but most of them, if they do decide to vaccinate, will go to their healthcare provider, which is good, which is what we want. We just wanted to plan to fill in those gaps if there was a need. And so far, there is not a need for us to help at this time with that age group. And our for the McLeod County vaccination statistics, as of May 26th, 46% of people in McLeod County have received at least one dose of a vaccination for COVID-19. The 12 plus population, we're at 54%. 16 plus, we're at 56%. And our highest population, which is good, is our 65 plus. We're at 86% of the population have received at least one dose. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Barrett. Any questions for her, Board?
Thank you.
Sheila?
Good morning. I don't have much of an update this week, which I think is good. We continue to follow the Emergency Executive Order 21-23. I don't know of any updates to that. We're removal of the face covering mandate for most of our population. But just a reminder, like Barrett said, that we have vaccination clinic on Thursday. And since there are vaccination clinics on site ongoing at our government center, you will see face covering requirements in place for that setting, for those individuals attending those clinics on the dates that they are held. School is going to be out soon for the majority of the kids in our county, so hoping that the social distancing is a little easier there. They've all been masked the majority of the year or had face coverings. You see around you that we maintain social distancing, and we plan to do that through at least July unless there are any updates before then, or until July when the other requirements will end. So we'll give you an update at our next meeting.
Any questions for Sheila? Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Public Works, John.
I'm not John, but I'm going to be here with John this morning. We're excited to start this portion of the meeting by recognizing Brian Trepp. Brian, would you mind coming up to the front? Brian has served here at McLeod County for 41, almost 42 years, and we want to take a moment to thank Brian for his dedication. I'm going to give an opportunity for John to say some words as well as the board, and then after that, we'll take a photo at the front. Brian, thank you so much for your dedication and service to McLeod County. This is for you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, not too much to add, I guess, just to, like Hannah said, recognize Brian. And, 40 years ago, I think when he started, we had Clydesdales pulling the snowplows and everything. And now we got Mack trucks with computers in them, and he has to have a lot of knowledge on all of that. But other than that, no, I thought it was a good opportunity. It's Brian's last week is this Thursday, so I thought I'd bring him with and have him handle the next board item too, and make sure you guys grill him a little bit on that. But no, we just appreciate him. Over 40 years of service, so it was a great accomplishment.
I thought, John, you were going to say we were being pulled by bulldogs now instead.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Great. Congratulations again, Brian. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Thank you.
Last one. Thank you.
Yeah, you can have the first item, Brian.
John's gonna work me to the end here, so. Here to consider purchase of a Kuhn GMD 240 HD 8-foot rotary disc mower from Arnold's in Glencoe here. It's for a price of $86.95. That includes a trade price of $3,305, and that's for a 2005 Kuhn mower. These weren't on state pricing, so I did get another quote from Midwest Machinery. That's for a John Deere R2240 for $8,750, and that includes a trade of the same mower. So both these mowers are pretty much identical, except for the John Deere has a little lighter duty tarp support on it. So, and they do have them in stock. So.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
question for Brian.
Yep.
Brian, do you think this will be a good investment for McLeod County?
I think so, because we're running these already. We got 2 other Kuhns, and also run a John Deere one and a New Holland. So it seems the Kuhn seems to last better for us. So.
And thanks for that explanation. And Mr. Chair, with that, I will move to approve.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Smalls to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Lucens. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
I think John just tried to set that
Good
up so
luck.
we didn't
Yeah, I
ask a
think
bunch of questions.
Good luck in your,
I wanted to get him to talk a little bit.
That was good, thank you. Item C, consider award of State Project 43070-015. This is our countywide 6-inch edge line pavement marking project. The low bid on that was Sir Lines a Lot out of Edina. Low bid of $60,699.04. And we had two other bids, one from Traffic Marking Services for $60,799.04 and AAA Striping for $63,463.14. And then this SP project, that's, if you remember, HSIP project, 90% federal funds, and then our 10% local match. So we recommend award to Sir Lines a Lot.
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
motion's been made by Commissioner Smalls to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Luthens. Any discussion? Sir Lancelot, that's quite a name. Have we used them before?
They've subbed, last year they did the pavement marking for Dunnick's on the project, but they've been around a little bit, yeah. Typically, it's the second and third bidder that gets all our stuff. So as you can see, it was a $100 difference between them and the second place, so.
It's a creative name. And any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D, we'd like to consider a quote from Riverview Aggregates out of Hutchinson to do some graveling on County Road 58. It's about 7.5 miles. Their price for gravel applied was $8.46 a ton. Roughly $27,000 worth of graveling. Three other quotes ranging from $8.71 a ton up to $12 a ton. Last year, we hired some of that out, and it worked well. The price is very good for what we got for that, and gives our other guys some time to catch up on some patching and other kinds of things. So we'd like to go with Riverview Aggregates for County Road 58 graveling this year.
Move to approve.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any more discussion? The difference in price is pretty much, is the location of the gravel. It's pretty much what bears into that, isn't it? Or is that usually?
Yeah, it's hard to say. You know, Hanson Gravel was a hair more, and they're out in that same area, I think, so it's probably a fair assessment.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the last item would be to consider authorizing Public Works to solicit bids for processing 40,000 tons of Class 5 modified material. It'll be done at the slat shop with our construction budget. So part of this year's concrete overlay projects, we're taking off a lot of millings, have excess millings on the project that we'll stockpile at slats. You know, that was the idea was to use them for future, and then to hire a contract now and mix them with more gravel to put up a stockpile for us for other uses. So the bid would include providing additional Class 5 material to mix with those millings, to incorporate the millings, crush them, stockpile them, and then, of course, they'll be available at slats for other uses. And being it's over 175,000, we need formal bids.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm fine with this, and I'll make the motion in just a second, but is the slats working well for that stockpiling and hauling in and out of there? It seems to.
It does, it's a larger area for it. I mean, ideally, it'd be directly in the center of the county, but no, it works good for, you know, there's room there to pile and everything, yep.
Okay, very good. Mr. Chair, I move to approve.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second?
Second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. No, I think it's a great idea as well in discussion. That stuff, the millings come into good use, whatever is left there, so and it's a good location.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, John. Environmental Services, Mark. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, gentlemen. We do have one item back in front of you this morning. It is Conditional Use Permit 21-01. It is an application for electrical generation essential services, solar power, 1 megawatt It is an application made by Dave Berg representing Sunshare. County Board did hear this request on May 4th, and we sent that back to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission did have a special meeting on May 19th, 2021, and the nature of the motion by the board was to consider an addendum presented by Sunshare, and the addendum was to include agrivoltaics, which meant that they were going to use the interior of that solar garden for the purpose of growing produce from a local vendor. So with that being said, the Planning Commission did hear this request at a special meeting on May 19th, and there was a 4-to-1 vote to approve with the following conditions. I'll read those conditions. Number one, a surety in the amount of $125,000 based on 3,100 panels for the duration of the project, or until the land is reclaimed to original state, shall be provided to McLeod County Environmental Service Office prior to any permits being issued. Number two, applicant shall restore the site to its original and natural state once the solar facility is no longer in use. Number three, the contractor's proof of insurance shall be submitted to McLeod County Environmental Services during the construction of the facility. Number four, contact person and phone number for weed control and site concerns will be filed with the McLeod County Environmental Service Office, and a placard shall be posted at the entrance visible from County Road 3 naming a contact person with a current phone number. Number five, an approved landscape buffer plan and vegetative management plan shall be provided to the McLeod County Environmental Service Office. This buffer shall be planted and maintained to remain healthy and live. The land inside the perimeter of the project area will be used for agricultural production. Number six, a vertical 10-foot fence with 24-inch kick plates shall be installed for site security and safety around the perimeter of the project area. Number seven, applicants shall meet all NPDES permit requirements if required. Number eight, applicants shall preserve the existing drain tile and repair if any tile is broken. Repairs shall be performed by a drainage contractor. Number nine, applicants shall obtain a change of use permit for the access off of County Road 3 from McLeod County Highway Department. Number 10, applicants shall test for stray voltage prior to electrification, 3 months after electrification, and once per year for 3 years, and once every 5 years thereafter. So with that being said, this request is on property owned by Don Engelman and Helen Township Section 1, and Dave Berg and Dean Engelman from Tangletown are here if there are questions for them. But this is forwarded back to you as a board from the Planning Commission with recommendation on a 4-to-1 to approve.
Thank you, Mark. I don't know if I should lead off here or not. This has always been a hard decision for me to make because of the ordinance. I've always been bothered by the constitutional right of a contract between a landowner and a company. I don't know that the government should be interfering with those contracts, but having said that, somebody in their wisdom created an ordinance for us to follow, and that's what I had been following, but I did quite a bit of work with the help of Mark, and I think I'm just going to read some points here that I have thought over and would like the rest of the board to hear as well. The inside perimeter of the solar gardens will be used to grow produce, vegetables by Tingletown. The growing of vegetables serve the local markets. Vegetable production will produce an estimate 4 times the calories of the average as compared to traditional row crops. The solar panels will help reduce heat and aid in the production of the vegetables. The applicant has agreed to plant a pollinator-friendly mix surrounding the solar garden to support the local agricultural industry. Protecting the small farmer operations and preserve agricultural land. The Buffalo Sun model allows smaller farmers access to land that might otherwise be cost prohibitive. This method also keeps McLeod County prime farmland for agricultural use. As referenced above, the University of Arizona study, the result of agriculture and solar sharing at the same space, in this of a higher crop yield and more efficient performance of solar array. It also promotes healthier soils. It creates jobs and economic growth. produces fresh locally vegetables accessible to farmers markets, and CSA members. And pollinator habitat is restored, of which I personally, is personally important to me. So what I'm trying to say here is the balance of trying to produce land and protect agriculture, we seem to have cut an inroad into, for me and myself, to stick in with the ordinance and yet let a contract be made by a landowner and a company. So I guess that's the best I can say of it, so I'd like to hear from the rest of the board.
Mr. Chair, my views are that this is a fantastic idea. It is something new. It's something we should be embracing and getting behind it as this new idea looks like quite a successful thing that happened here in McLeod County. So I am completely in favor of approving the conditions that are brought, the conditional use permit as brought before us today.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
It's been no secret I've been on the fence on this, one way or the other, and this is what pushes it over the top for me. So this is great. Thank you for all the work. Thank you for bringing it back to the planning commission, and I'm glad they reviewed it and sent it back. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you said it very well, Mr. Chair, with the work that's been put into this plan. I guess I would like to ask Attorney Young if he can defend our position on preserving prime farmland as we look at some of the other solar applications, that are under Court of Appeals presently. Just looking for opinion, Attorney.
That's part of the job description, so I'll do that.
Yep. In a real roundabout way, yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Oh, excuse me, Darryl.
Oh, sorry.
In continuing, I mean, my concern all along from the very first solar that we installed is the decommissioning and the cost of decommissioning solar. With the unknowns that we have involved with, what costs are going to be 35 or 40 years from today, it becomes very difficult to put a value on it. So with that in mind, I will raise the question, do we have the freedom here this morning to, let's say, increase the bond amount that's being proposed as we see it here today?
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Mr. Yep.
the items that are before you are recommendations. You are free to change them as you will.
I think that's the ultimate answer. Mark, have you got a comment on that?
Yeah, I do. So the only question I have on that is if we attach this as a condition, I don't believe that we have the right unless we call this application back in to reconsider that later on. Is that correct, Mr. Young?
No, they can do it now. The public hearing is done to request information. This board sets the final conditions.
Yeah, so if they set this at 125 today, we can't bring this in 2 years from now to reconsider that condition?
That's true.
And that was my question, so I just want to be clear to
And
Commissioner Smalls.
Forgive me, Mark, maybe I didn't see it or didn't write it down. What's the number at today,
125,000, and so that number, just for clarification, we have factored in best estimate with what it costs to recycle per panel of where they would have to be sent to the southwest part of the United States, Arizona specifically, transportation cost, and then a contract to go out there and do that. But you're exactly right, Commissioner Smalls. I don't know what the value of the dollar is going to be in 40 years from now. I don't know if those costs will be increased or decreased based on technology then. So this is a best estimate.
Any follow-up, Commissioner?
Mr. Chair, best estimate in today's dollars, or are you
Correct.
thinking estimate 30 or 40 years from today?
This is best estimate in today's dollars. And the reason for that is if the per panel cost to recycle decreases, it could significantly decrease the cost of that decommissioning. So you have concerns and potential price influences on both sides of the equation when you figure out a surety for decommissioning. So again, there's no exact science in coming up with this number. We did our absolute best. We have contacted a contractor. We've looked at what the National Renewable Energy Laboratory says for recycling per panel. So we've done our homework in regards to figuring out that cost. And, you know, for that being said, McLeod County is one of the first counties that actually came in with the number we've come in with. There's a lot of other counties that are starting to follow our lead using the same formula. So with that, I'm kind of proud of that.
Mr. Lutens?
Mr. Chairman, Mark, did we talk about a period of time to, if the vegetable company left, how long they'd have to get another one back in?
It is a condition, if approved, right now, they have to produce that produce. If they don't do that, we would work with the applicant, and we have the right at that time to bring that back in front of the board.
No
If-
time period, though?
In regards to trying to get a new vendor in place,
Yes.
they have to have produce produced, and obviously we can't grow that produce in this climate in the winter months. So we'll work with the applicant to try to make sure that they are utilizing it for that. If they aren't, at that time, we will work with Mr. Young or the attorney's office to try to get that back in front of the board for consideration, if they are in breach of a condition.
Mr. Chair, the county board has a right to review the conditions of any conditional use permit at any time. So it would just take you to direct the environmental services director to call a public hearing or put it on the agenda, and then you could review it.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I guess I'm comfortable with everything, and to Commissioner Small's point, I'd love to be able to predict the future for 30 years from now. It would go well for all of us, but anyway, we can't. So thanks for coming up with that number using research and facts, and I will move to approve the conditional use permit.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any more discussion? I do have some discussion. The points we just brought out, I've taken into consideration myself, and obviously it's in my district, and I'm excited as well. I think that we've looked for the right word to pick, and I guess model has become that. It's not really a pilot, it's a model, and I'd like reports back as well, but more, I hope they're successful ones, and I think we've got some good people to work with, and see where this takes us. It's new, and again, it's exciting for me, so. With that, is there any more discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll vote against the motion because my feeling would be that we should be raising the decommissioning surety with our decision today. So I think it's a good plan, though. I like what's being proposed. That's the only consideration that I'm giving it for voting against the motion.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call. Commissioner Luthens?
Negative.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
I'm yes. Commissioner Nagel?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmalz?
Negative.
It passes 3-2. Congratulations.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Auditor Treasurer Connie, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Today I'm here for one item and then a public hearing. So I am here to have you consider, excuse me, consider approval of the purchase of IAS World CAMA tax and cashiering software and the software as a service agreement from Tyler Technologies, Inc. in Plano, Texas, with a total cost of $384,882, with funds coming from the County Recorder Compliance Fund budget. Support for our current computer-assisted mass appraisal, or CAMA, and tax system with Avenue will end on December 31st, 2023, at which time the software will need to be replaced. The MNCCC request for information and request for proposal committees search for a solution to the CAMA and tax system replacement. The committee is currently in the final stages of contract review with Tyler Technologies, Inc. Tyler Technologies, Inc. has been in the appraisal and tax industry since 1938. Their current version, IAS World CAMA and Tax software, provides access to the appraisal, tax, and collections. This system will replace our current CAMA and tax systems and will be used mainly by the offices of the assessor, auditor, treasurer, and recorder. Cost of the CAMA and tax modules, cashiering modules, implementation, first annual maintenance expense, and vendor travel expense is again the $384,882. The McLeod County Compliance Committee has approved the purchase up to $400,000 coming from the Recorder's Compliance Fund account in case there are additional items that need to be added on. Questions for me?
Questions for Connie?
Maybe I missed it. How often, when's the last time we replaced this type of software?
I don't know how long we've had our current software.
long time.
It's a green screen, yes.
Okay, got it.
I guess that, I'm not a technological guru, so that kind of says it all for me if you can't remember when they bought it.
And green screen I get too, so I'll move to approve.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
time
I
do we have?
don't know what time it is.
31, we're good.
Okay, so item B is the public hearing to consider the approval for petition of additional lands into County Ditch 63 for outlet from MRRR LLC. I did want to just verify with the board, I did receive this morning at 8:10 an email, which I have distributed to everyone. In reading that email, it did allude to a letter that was sent to the board on May 13th, which I did not have a copy of. I have located the copy, it was addressed to the board, and I have copies for everyone, including the county attorney on that as well.
I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to open the public hearing at 9:31. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is open. Has everyone, I'm still reviewing this email we got this morning, has everyone else been able to, is there everyone that's attending the hearing been able to look at this or not? I hate to say their sides, but if both sides had to look at.
I don't know that they have.
Have to.
Connie, has anybody from the Rinky Noonan firm or the petitioner received a copy of it?
I'm here, I created it. It's my letter and my document.
Not the one.
No, the June 1st letter from Bluff and Barrett's.
This I have not seen, no.
Okay.
That was my question. I'm sorry.
Let's give them 5 or what?
I'd like you to review it if possible, I guess.
Yeah, why don't you take a look at it and then we'll.
Sure.
We can take a 5-minute break while we go through, we can
Sure.
look through ours and. I guess, Mike, before we go on, I guess we should review the purpose of this hearing.
Sure. First of all, let's review what you have received. And that is that you received a petition dated December 7th, 2020 by Roger Rauch on behalf of MRRR LLC requesting to drain additional 32.96 acres into ditch 63. Then you received a letter from Rinky Noonan, and in particular, Zachary Burmeister is the attorney there, and that is with a packet of information from May 13th. And then you have just received this morning, and I just received this morning, a letter from Jeremy Berg, an attorney representing the Ludowises, and that's what you have before you. The petition is being submitted under Minnesota Statute 103E.401, and the statute says that the board shall consider the capacity of the drainage system. If you find evidence of sufficient capacity, then you should grant the petition, establish outlet fees, and establish benefits. The issues that are not to be considered according to the statute is whether the petitioned land actually drains that way, whether the viewers made a mistake, whether, or any other factors. I would note to you that you're currently, you have an engineer's report saying that this ditch system is in a state of disrepair, and you're looking at awarding contracts tomorrow, I think it is, for the repair of this system. So right now, you have an engineer's report saying that this system isn't working and is inadequate. So that's all that I have.
And we are to consider the petition for additional lands?
Correct. And if you find that there's sufficient capacity in the system, then you should grant the petition, set the outlet fee and the benefits. If you find that there isn't sufficient capacity at the present, then you should deny the petition.
Any questions from the commissioners before I open it to public comment? All right, anyone in the audience that wants to speak to the issue? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman and the board, my name is Zach Burmeister of the Rinky Noonan Law Firm. The May 13 letter in front of you is mine, and I think Attorney Young just laid out, a lot of what my position is. And I'll tell you, I'd like to thank you first for the opportunity to review the letter that I received this morning. I don't believe there's anything in that letter that necessarily changes my position or would require any modifications to the information I've provided you, but I'd like to take this time just to sort of spell out what is in that letter. This is not a landowner dispute, even though it is starting to appear to look like one. As Attorney Young mentioned, the only thing to be considered by the Drainage Authority here is the capacity of CD 63. Now, we submitted the evidence that these petitioned acres have long drained into CD 63, not because that's part of the analysis that the Drainage Authority needs to undertake, but only to show that when evaluating whether there is capacity in CD 63, to show that these acres are draining to CD 63, and they have for a long time. Now, we presented the USGS data, which I understand the objectors are not fond of, according to the letter they just sent in. That's just to show, it's utilized by engineers all over about where watershed divides are. We presented that evidence that shows that almost the entirety of this northeast quarter of Section 17 is in a watershed that drains south. We received information at the last hearing that these lands are supposed to drain north to JD1. I believe there's a reference to that in the letter that I just reviewed this morning as well. And the USGS data is just presented to show that, at least according to the US survey, these lands drain to the south. We've also provided historic evidence, evidence dating back to the establishment of CD 63. This goes to, I think it's 1963. And this evidence shows that, the vast majority of the acres being petitioned were included back when this system was established. Now, there's no measurement of acres of, how much land is actually benefiting in the Exhibit C that I've provided. But I can tell you that it is certainly more than the 11 acres that are currently authorized into CD 63. And I think what's important here, and what might raise the wrinkles of this becoming a landowner dispute that we don't want to have in front of the Drainage Authority, is the practical evidence that we've presented. My client has participated in a cost share, a full 1/3 cost sharing, specific to the tile main that outlets into 63. This morning I was provided with another invoice. This is an invoice that my client paid approximately $2,100. And again, sort of a related, it appears to me to be a related project wherein when this tile main was improved, first the connectors, the tile main connecting my client's property sort of eventually to this main were also improved. And my client was asked and paid for a cost share in that project too. So ultimately what we have is overwhelming evidence that CD 63 has been, that my client's property has been benefited by CD 63 dating back to the establishment of the ditch. It's been benefited by 63 almost by the admission of the objecting landowners who are asking him for cost shares to continue outletting into CD 63. And it's evidenced by just the standard USGS data that shows that this watershed, almost the entirety of the northeast quarter of section 17, drains south and is therefore, drains directly into CD 63. Now, the board is to determine, it's not even asking to determine, the board is to consider the capacity of the system. Now, my understanding is that CD 63 is in a repair petition, which means at some point it has been determined that CD 63 is not at the same hydraulic capacity as it was when it was originally constructed and subsequently improved. It's my understanding, and Mr. Young will correct me if I'm wrong, that in determining whether there is capacity, the system, the hydraulic capacity of the system as constructed or subsequently improved is what is evaluated. So there's no additional acres going to 63. Those acres have been coming to 63 for a long time, according to the viewers in 1963, according to the USGS, and according to the objecting landowners. The fact that the system is now in disrepair does not impact whether there is capacity as it comes to an outlet petition. The board's determination of whether there is capacity here is easy because these acres have been draining to 63 for a long time. These are not additional acres, so that doesn't need to be part of the consideration. That has been our position, and that remains our position, even with the letter I received this morning. And I will take any questions.
Mr. Young, have you got, you're the legal expert, is there anything that you would like to comment on his statement legally, or?
Well, I'm not here to comment on what he has to say. I'll answer what your questions are.
And my question, and forgive me, we have a hearing on this, or a meeting on this tomorrow, right?
On the repair.
Repair.
On the
What is the viewer's report? Do we have a current viewer's report?
Yep, that was the viewer's report, was approved, can't remember the date.
I know, there's so many
Several-
meetings,
yeah.
forgive me that I don't remember.
Several months ago, which then, the next phase of our long-range
Yeah.
plan for that was then to go through the repair process.
And then, so do we know what the current viewer's report says about these 63 acres?
Yeah, they did not include them.
They did not.
No. That's why they're petitioning today to be.
That's kind of why we're here.
In the initial ditch system, 7 acres of this quarter were included in ditch 63. In the redetermination, according to my understanding, there was an additional 4 acres. So 11 acres total. I think I have those numbers right, correct? What you have from your engineers in their report dated August 28th of 2020, and I'll just read the first two sentences. County Ditch 63, located in McLeod County, is in disrepair. There is significant sedimentation throughout the open channel system. Several culverts are perched, undersized, and/or in poor condition. The banks have experienced substantial sloughing, and tile outlets are causing erosion issues.
And I'm just thinking, all I can do right now is, I don't quite get it all actually, but I agree with you that we don't judge the ditch right now by its current condition. It should be judged by the as-built condition. I do agree with that. Am I wrong?
The statute does not specifically state one way or the other, but if you have a drain that is taking 10 gallons an hour and you dump and you're draining 10 gallons, you don't dump an additional 50 gallons on top of it.
What, Mr. Chairman, what criteria did you use to make the decision to defend that those acres, I think we're at 32 acres, has always drained into 63?
The first is the USGS data. It's a simple, anybody can use it, it's publicly available. I use it every day just to determine sort of natural drainage. What I tell people is this is where God thinks the water is going. There's blue lines that drain to, all the county ditches end up showing up on there. Doesn't take them long when they're built and they show up. And it shows where drainage basins are located according to the data that the USGS has. And I know at the last meeting there was a lot of talk about how the everything but 7 acres in the northeast quarter of 17 is supposed to be draining north to JD1, and we were asked if we could find engineering to show otherwise. Upon finding the historic evidence that this part of this quarter has been assessed into 63 forever, and upon finding the USGS data showing pretty much the entirety of this northeast quarter is draining to the south, and upon locating the evidence that our client is paying the objecting landowners to continue draining to 63, we thought that was overwhelming evidence. We did not incur the expense of engaging an engineer to confirm USGS data.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
question for Mr. Burmeister.
Sure.
So USGS information, you're using just topography, elevation? Is that what you're going by?
Yeah, that's their data that uses. All I get to do is click a button, and the information that's in your packet just it shows up. I can
So
delineate.
basically surface drainage?
Yes.
Surface.
Yeah.
So do we have a tile line that runs against, in other words, opposite slope versus the topography that's shown on USGS?
We do not. Almost the entirety of the petitioned acres are within the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of section 17, sort of in the bottom right-hand corner of that top right-hand corner. Every acre in that southeast quarter is draining to the south. There's no tile lines coming beyond that watershed.
Both above and below ground?
Correct.
There's one.
Which one?
I can give some history to
If you could answer the which tile line question, because we don't want to get into what happened 37,000 years ago stuff.
Well, that is part of the history, how that line, I don't have any,
Sir, could you, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I don't have any documents
Your
of
name,
how
please?
this, my name is Roger Rauch. I don't have any documents as to when or how the redirected tile line got put in, but here we go. There's a home that's been built in the little triangular piece of land south of Mr. Ludwig's. That used to be farmland. A home was built there, no fault of the homeowner. The drain went through his farmland at the lowest elevation. trees were planted, the rest of the land was let go to prairie land, swamp trees began to grow in there. According to Mr. Ludwig's own tiling permit, his reason for retiling was line blocked by tree roots. All right, so that tells us why that line was blocked. My father retired in '87, so there's 20 years there that he lived. He did not farm. I don't know how the line got put in, but from the southeast corner, as Mr. Ludwig's tile installer had measured, there's a line that loops out about and then to the north, which goes to ditch 61. There's also the original tile line that goes from the ditch all the way to that same inlet, tile inlet that the tile installer measured. And I guess for a professional installer and even our observers, I walked that off just yesterday. From the tile line that they measured and proclaimed to be going to ditch 61, or ditch 1, which it does, but it shouldn't, 20 feet, there's another inlet. Doesn't that pique anyone's curiosity why there's an inlet there and an inlet here? That is the inlet and the tile line I propose to put in repair, much the same as ditch 63 has fallen into ditch repair, or into disrepair, so has my own tile line. I wish to replace that tile line and no more. That is all it is about. The topography of the land shows that the surface water cannot go to the north. There's a ridge on there that is just too high. So now we have these two tile lines in there. We can certainly redirect that line to go back to ditch 63. I can only imagine it got put in by a renter or someone else, because my father did not do any tiling once he retired. So like I said, there's no payment information, no documents I have to when that line got put in, but it goes out and around the old tile line. That's the history of these two lines. It cannot get there through the surface. So I only wish to reestablish the line that has been there. Any questions?
Just that I'm confused. I've been reading some of them same statements that you read, and I'm just, between reading Mr. Ewert's and the guys that did the redetermination of benefits,
Let's take another walk out there.
I'm just confused. I mean, it seems like there's surface water going one way and tile
No,
water
there is
going-
no surface water going to the north. Not from those acres. They can't.
Because for me, we gotta just, I mean, our job probably is to make sure that people are paying, you know, you paid to work for
Right,
getting rid
right.
of your water, I mean, in layman's terms, so you can't pay, you don't pay twice, but you need to pay,
I'll pay my share.
so
Sir,
I'm confused.
Please
but-
don't interrupt. Let him finish what his
Go
statement is.
ahead. I mean, if anybody else has any questions, this is one of the tougher, it's not that big, but it sure is tough to figure out.
I mean, if we would take an observer, I could walk out there today and show you the two lines.
Commissioner Wright, you've been out that way, I don't know if,
Yeah,
I'm
quite a
guessing
bit.
gonna lean onto you a little bit, but.
I got a lot of notes on this, and those notes continue to build. We spent quite a bit of time on this last week, both in Ryan Freitag's office and also with a site visit on the close to the property. You know, the last time we met, there were some questions that needed to be answered. It was how many acres are we really talking about? Is it more than just the 32, which seems to be the bowl? We really should be including all the side slopes that aim that way. And the acres, in my opinion, are more than that, and that is evidence that needed to be brought forward by a viewer. The capacity of the system. Currently, can that system handle more water? I think that the landowners have said quite obviously that answer is no, and that's why they're interested in the repair petition, which we'll see tomorrow if we're going to do anything at all. There's been a lot of comments on that within the last couple of days. Also, a number as to how much water would be added. Now there's the feeling that And those are things that we need to answer in order to make that decision. Can 63 handle more water, or can we add to its current load that it has? Now we're going on the idea that those acres were always going that direction and that the viewers made an error. I was there when the viewers continued to look at that, trying to figure out where that water goes. They went out and looked in the intakes. They said the water's going north. That's what we went with. I believe that they met with one of the other, I think there's others that own the property. I think they got opinion from one of the others that the water's going north. The last time we met on this, which I believe was in February, Jack Ewert, who is a very, very popular, very seasoned tiler in this area, had gone out and taken measurements and confirmed that the elevation of those intakes is the water is going north. And so this idea that, well, the water was always going to 63, it doesn't seem to work very well, because our intake elevation by both viewers and Jack Ewert state that it's going north. Last week in Mr. Freitag's office, we looked at aerial photos trying to figure out which way this goes. And the 2018 aerial photo was taken on one of those perfect days where you can see the dry dirt on top of existing tile lines. And what we felt, we could see very obvious lines pointing northward with the water in that area. And this bowl that is, if I may use that word, in this field is at an elevation of 1070, and where this lift pump station is at like 3 or 4 feet higher. I'm trying to figure out how the water got there in the absence of a lift pump in the past. But Ryan, did you dig up anything else other than what we agreed to see last week in your office then? That 2018 aerial photo was, again, taken at that perfect time of day when you could really tell where those old tile lines were at. I'm not seeing evidence that shows that the water drains into 63 in the past. And I'm continuing today to see that this is additional acreage. And with that, we did not receive the information to be able to make that determination as far as how much water that would bring. The 7 acres were increased to 11 within this last viewing. I'm not going to accept very easily that the viewers made a mistake, because that's why we have appeal processes here. And landowners are notified of that process, and that's when you come in and you say that there's a problem, so that we don't have to go through all this expense and hours of work after the fact, bringing in attorneys, causing a lot of personal dollars put in here, as well as staff time to try and figure this out. That's why that window is there. So my position, from what I have seen, from things that have been brought forward to me, is that this water did not historically go to 63. That's from the original viewing that was done and the more modern just a couple years ago. We have evidence from what the viewers noticed, as well as Mr. Ewerts, that talk about the elevation of the tile line there. I'm not seeing any other hard evidence that tells me that water was always going into 63 in the first place. If we were to put any weight on if what landowners have kind of been mentioning, do they feel that additional acres need to go into the system of 63 in its current condition? I'm hearing that a lot of no's on that, and I have to be able to listen to what those existing landowners are saying out there that are paying on 63 as well. So I'm not seeing that this is a successful attempt at adding acres today at this point.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. I appreciate that.
The photo he may have seen, this is correct, because that was the only line that was working, the one going north. The one I'm continuing to mention is plugged with earth, and it wouldn't have been dry because it wasn't working. Mr. Ewert also, I believe, in the last meeting, mentioned the inlet in the ditch would have only been 4 feet deep, and he was correct. There is an inlet in the ditch that's 4 feet deep, the road ditch. From that, it goes out into the field. It's been plugged with earth, and like I said, 20 feet from the inlet that the observers saw and Mr. Ewert is another tile inlet that's full of dirt. It's 20 feet. There's no curiosity that's been piqued? Why is that there? It's there because that's the original line. That's all I can say. I'm more than willing to go out there with the observer and rewalk the property. We can walk the line.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to comment at this time? State your name, please.
Kurt Reiner. Say, I'm a neighbor out there too, and on ditch 63. And did you go back and look at any of the old maps, the aerial maps? From what I could see, it did show a tile line going to the south, 263. And if there is a tile in there, all Roger should have to do is just dig it up, expose it, and that is enough. That should be enough proof then, shouldn't it? That it is going that way?
Again, the issue.
That's my question.
Again, the issue is not, did they make a mistake? Which way did the water go before? None of that matters. It doesn't even matter which way the water actually goes now. The only question is there sufficient capacity in ditch 63 for this additional 39 acres? That's the question you have to answer according to the statute.
But if the water has always gone to 63, like Roger says, then it should have the capacity. That's just my question and concern.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. For me, I'm just gonna, Commissioner Wright did an excellent job of explaining the procedure, and I actually understood what he said. And I don't even know who that benefits, quite frankly. I didn't go out there, but I think all his reasons were, I wish I could have said them that good, but I think the procedures have been followed, and whether it was the viewers, there was appeal processes, everything had been there. So here we are today, and we're still dealing with things coming up at the last minute. So, but just my opinion is that the best I heard this morning was what Commissioner Wright has said. Please
This is
state your
Roger
name.
Rauch again. This really isn't last minute. I started this in 2019, so it's been nothing but stonewalling from my neighbors. It probably would have been done, and we wouldn't have had to go through the appeal, but they prevented me from continuing.
Thank you. I don't think they prevented you from showing, and I'm not poo-pooing anyone, but I mean, there has been a process going on with viewers and going through this ditch process, and it's been coming, this is what comes to us, and I don't like to be the person that has to pick winners and losers, but I have to deal with the facts and the opportunities that had been done. Go ahead.
What your options are today is to, one, make a finding that there's sufficient capacity in the ditch and grant the petition. Two, find that there's insufficient capacity in the ditch and deny the petition. Or three, table and tell people exactly what information that you need so you can make a decision.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Last week, we also found, we replayed the video of the entire process in February to make sure that what questions were asked, what was said, and what evidence was supposed to come forward for today. One of the things that was supposed to come forward, the landowner, was to probe his tile line and have that evidence for today. Was that done at all?
It's been done by Hector Tile. They've dug it up and found the chips.
But we have nothing to go with. I mean, chips, I mean, we don't have an elevation, so we didn't actually probe that line to prove an evidence of it then.
Not to present today, no. Is that what you're asking?
That's what I'm asking you.
We can certainly get that from the contractor. So we table it again.
If, Just a comment, if the problem with tabling again, I don't know how we go into our meeting tomorrow on what we need to do with the ditch. And again, that's my opinion, but.
No, and I think that this just complicates our discussions tomorrow, which I think are gonna be quite lengthy on what to do with the repair petition as it is.
If I may,
Go ahead.
just so I'm clear, the,
State your name again, please. Mr. Burmeister, I know it,
Excuse me?
but would you please do that?
excuse me?
Would you state your name again and
Oh,
who you
sorry.
represent?
When these things, this is Mike Young, when these things go up to the Court of Appeals and it just has a speaker, it doesn't identify who you are. That's why he needs you to.
You need your record, I understand, Counsel. This is Zach Burmeister from Rinky Noonan again, and I just want the board to be aware that if this is just a repair of CD 63 that's occurring, the hydraulic capacity is not gonna be, the end result of the hydraulic capacity of CD 63 is not gonna be what it was, or any more than it was at the time of originally constructed or subsequently improved. So I don't know that there's real hurdles involved with an outlet petition that's on a system that's subject to a repair petition. Because the analysis is always going to be about the capacity of the system as constructed or subsequently improved. So that's the baseline for the outlet petition. That's the ceiling that's gonna be hit on any repair. So those numbers don't change. So I understand that it seems like it would complicate matters, but the capacity of CD 63, whether it's repaired or not, that needs to be considered in this outlet petition is the capacity as constructed or subsequently improved. Otherwise, the reason that's the case in the drainage code, my understanding anyway, is that alternatively, once this system is repaired, we can come back and do another outlet petition saying, well, now we're evaluating it from a different benchmark, and that's not what happens. That's why this is evaluated from as constructed or subsequently improved, and that's the target that you're hitting on the repair.
As long as it's, correct me if I'm wrong, as long as it's just a repair.
And not an improvement, correct?
Well, I disagree with that. So
Okay.
I think you have to look at the world as it is right now and then make your decision right now. And if you do the repair and that increases the capacity and they petition again in 1 year, then the world has changed. But I think you have to look at the world as it is right now. And the statute, let me read the statute to you. At the hearing, the drainage authority shall consider the capacity of the outlet drainage system. And then it goes on to say that if you give express authority, then you set the outlet fee and the benefits. So it's, at the hearing, the drainage authority shall consider the capacity of the outlet drainage system. How is the world right now? And there isn't any case law that says that he's right or I'm right.
That's the problem, correct. We'll agree to disagree.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Long before I was on the county board, I served on the Board of Adjustment for several years, and I quickly learned that one of the things you do when you look at applications and applicants and information coming in for or against is just really quickly disregard all the names involved and look at the hard evidence of what's going on in the land, and that's what we're supposed to be doing as land authority. And the two things that are sticking out with me today when I've looked at these maps over and over again, I've been out on the property, I've heard different comments. Do I see evidence that this water was coming into 63 in the past? I look at the viewer's report when this ditch was put in, and again, the viewer's report that was just approved a couple years ago. I'm answering that question with no. How do we get water there with tiling? That evidence that we saw of tiling activity on that 2018 aerial map, that wasn't just put in overnight. There was a lot of tiling done in there. It definitely shows, as well as the direction of the feeder lines that are installed at that on that line, that the direction of the water is going northward. And so I'm saying that water is, whether it was I'm not gonna use the word redirected. I shouldn't have said that, but the water is going north, okay? Currently. And I don't know why somebody, even if it was changed, why they would have turned it differently. It doesn't matter, at this point. I'm not seeing reason to agree with that water is going into 63 at this point. We're missing hard evidence to that, because today the water's going north. We do not have the redetermination complete yet on judicial ditch number 1. It'll be interesting how they view that. Does this ditch have the capacity? That seems, we were reminded that is the primary question in front of us. Today, that answer is no for me. We have nearly up to $1 million of repair work that we're gonna be talking about tomorrow. The estimates when they came in on the bids are gonna be shy of that, but it is not just, it's a long ways away from a simple clean out. It is a major overhaul of that ditch system in order to correct it. And I don't know if those landowners are gonna support it all. So I'm not even gonna sit here today and try and judge what's gonna happen at tomorrow's meeting. But today, that system is full for what we have to work with. Given the evidence that we have in front of us today, I have to make a motion to deny this request.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Wright to deny the request. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Nagel. Is there any more discussion?
I'll just add to that, Mr. Chair, it takes a lot more energy to say no or to deny a request than it does to approve up here. But I just cannot see the reason why to change my opinion.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of denying the petition, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Roll call. Commissioner Luthens?
No.
Commissioner Wright?
Aye.
Commissioner Kruger is aye. Commissioner Nagel?
Aye.
Commissioner Schmaus?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Is there any other business as deemed necessary to come before this public hearing?
Move to close the hearing.
Motion's been made to close the hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of closing the meeting, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Motion to reopen the county board meeting.
Don't need one.
Don't need one? All right, very good. All right, we're back to the board meeting. Connie, do you have anything else? County Administration, review of calendars. Mr. Luthens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 19th, Wednesday, Planning Advisory Commission. 20th, we had a Trailblazer meeting. It was a Zoom meeting in Glencoe. Monday, the 24th, RMC Zoom meeting. And on the 25th, McLeod County Health and Human Services. And 26th, Planning Advisory Board. Thank you.
Commissioner Wright.
Started last week with a meeting in Hutchinson dealing with assessor's office and property owners in Hutch as far as commercial property. Conducted interviews with administration on our economic director spot. Site visits on a couple of ditch systems. Had a meeting at the fairgrounds with Hutchinson Garden Club dealing with their usage of facilities and buildings going forward. Attended the online through Microsoft Teams on the CD63 bid opening. Yesterday attended Memorial Day services in Hutchinson. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. I had a personnel committee meeting on the 10th, along with a department head meeting. On the 11th, we had a economic development committee meeting. I also attended interviews on the 13th. Agenda review, I believe was last Thursday. Trailblazer on the 20th, and attended the meeting in the fairgrounds with our assessor and the rest of the board. Brings us, hold on a second here. On the 24th, I can honestly say I took a day off. I shut my phones off and made sure that I had coverage on things that were going on that day, and I had a lot of my personal business to take care of, and I did just that. On the 25th, we had Health and Human Services, Community Health Board meeting, Personnel Committee after that, along with the Buffalo Creek Watershed Board meeting that evening. On the 26th, we had a CRF committee meeting just to get that started. The 27th, my agenda review. And on, we also had a bid opening on 63 that I was a little bit late for, but we'll be discussing later. That evening, I attended with Commissioner Smalls the UCAP meeting, which I'll let him comment on. And that brings us to today. Commissioner Nagel.
Met with some constituents regarding economic development in the area. They're excited about the movement that we've made and how we're proceeding. Southwest West Central meeting, again, that got into that because of our insurance piece that we have with them, but it is much more, and I feel like I'm starting all over learning stuff with that board. It's pretty intense. We had a personnel meeting throughout the last couple weeks, and I want to thank the department heads for putting up with us. We've really been putting it on them to justify their not only their additions but their replacements every time, and that's going to continue. But they've taken it with stride, and they've done a great job with that. And then Memorial Day services yesterday in Hutchinson. Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Smalls.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner Nagel, for your report. After our last board meeting on the 18th, I had a meeting with Ryan at Soil and Water concerning upcoming ditch work in my district. And then that afternoon, we had our well-being committee meeting by Zoom. On Wednesday the 19th, I started out with AMC training and education, and the main topic was to prepare us for the upcoming budget cycles that we'll be learning about here in the future. And that was by Zoom, and that afternoon they also had a legislative update that I participated in by Zoom as well. On Thursday the 20th, I was part of the Hutch commercial taxation meeting that was held at the fairgrounds. Brings us to the following week on the 24th, which was Monday. I attended an MRC conference on their legislative reports as well by Zoom. On Tuesday the 25th, we had Health and Human Services Committee that morning by Zoom. And the evening of the 27th, Thursday, I attended a UCAP meeting, as Commissioner Kruger referenced, and during that meeting we got into a lengthy discussion about how UCAP may be able to help with some of the issues with some small businesses that seem to have fallen through the cracks concerning, help through the COVID pandemic. And we'll be maybe hearing a little bit more about that later on this morning. And then yesterday, Monday, I was fortunate enough to attend memorial commemorations in all three of the towns in my district. We had a naval salute that was performed lakeside in the city of Winsted at 9:15 in the morning. At 10 o'clock in the morning, I made it to the tribute that we had in Lester Prairie, and at 11 o'clock, I made it to the tribute that was held in Silver Lake. And I'd like to thank our servicemen and women who have served and continue to serve. We greatly appreciate the service that they've done for our country. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Sheila, just a second. I guess I left that out of my calendar, and I'm ashamed of myself, but I proudly attended on Sunday memorial services at the Good Shepherd Church, and on On yesterday, we had St. Pius Memorial Services here in Glencoe, followed by a service at GSL. And it was very well, all were very well attended, and we ended with a potluck at the VFW and American Legion. So thanks everyone for attending, and again, for the thoughts of everybody that gave all. Thank you. Go ahead, Sheila.
Good morning again. Item A, update on US Highway 212 project in Dahlgren Township, which is in Carver County. They wrote a very nice update on their website. I'm essentially just going to read that to you because a couple of you were interested in that last week. Carver County and MnDOT are constructing approximately 5 miles of safety and capacity improvements along Highway 212, which you know, between Highway 36 in Cologne and Highway 11 or Jonathan Carver Parkway in Carver. Construction will be complete in late October 2022 of that phase. The work includes upgrading highway pavement, increasing the travel lanes from 2 to 4, realigning Highway 212 in Dahlgren Township, creating safer routes to get on, off, and across Highway 212, and creating safer access to local properties. It is, as part of the project, a number of technical evaluations are being conducted to identify existing and future issues associated with mobility, congestion, safety, freight connectivity, and agricultural mobility, and infrastructure needs. The current traffic impacts, there's a Kelly Avenue closure, which is between 212 and Highway 140. That's from May 24th to late June. The detour uses Highway 140 to Highway 284 and some other different connecting highways. Short delays on Highway 212 are possible on weekdays between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Watch for flaggers directing traffic. Any questions on that?
No, but thank you for the update.
Yeah, they have very nice updates on the Carver County website between MnDOT and Carver County. So if you do need information on other phases or what I didn't go over, there's many links and summaries for you to access there. Item B, notification of Renville Sibley McLeod Joint Drainage Authority final hearing on the petitioned improvement of JD 15 RSMC, Renville Sibley McLeod Branch M20. The Drainage Authority will accept public comment regarding the proposed improvement and the viewer's report at the Renville County Government Services Center, 105 South 5th Street, Olivia, Minnesota, on Monday, June 14, 2021 at 6:00 p.m. Another, in item C, another notification of Renville Sibley McLeod Joint Drainage Authority final hearing on the petitioned improvement of JD 15 Renville Sibley McLeod Branch S. The Drainage Authority will accept public comment regarding the proposed improvement and the viewer's report at the Renville County Government Services Center, again at 105 South 5th Street, Olivia, Minnesota, on Tuesday, June 15th, 2021 at 6:00 p.m. Item D, notification of Renville Sibley McLeod Joint Drainage Authority final hearing on the petition improvement of JD 15 Renville Sibley McLeod Branch P1. The Drainage Authority will accept public comment regarding the proposed improvement and the viewer's report at the Renville County Government Services Center at 105 South 5th Street, Olivia, Minnesota, on Wednesday, June 16th, 2021 at 6:00 p.m. Item E, notification of Renville Sibley McLeod Joint Drainage Authority final hearing on the petitioned improvement of JD 15 Renville Sibley McLeod Branch A. The Drainage Authority will accept public comment regarding the proposed improvement and the reviewer's report at the Renville County Government Services Center, 105 South 5th Street, Olivia, Minnesota, on Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021 at 4:00 p.m.
Sheila?
Yes.
Excuse me just for a second. These items on Judicial Dis 15 are the ones that are also gonna be talked about in our workshop after this meeting. And just a reminder that Judicial Ditch 15 is the Buffalo Creek in Renville County.
Thank you.
And that's what they touch at the and change at the McLeod-Renville County borders. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last one, item F, notification of McLeod County Drainage Authority informal meeting to discuss repairs and ACSIC for County Ditch 5, 13, and 29. The meeting with landowners and 2 commissioners will be held at the McLeod County Government Center here in the Martin McLeod Boardroom, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota, on this Thursday, June 3rd, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. So that will be a busy day for our commissioners because we also have our American Rescue Plan Fund meeting that afternoon in Hutch at the fairgrounds.
And that ACSIC is as constructed and subsequently improved condition.
Thank you. I don't have anything else, Mr. Chair.
All right. Open forum. Does anyone here wish to address the board? Press relations, Karen or anyone online that needs to address the board? No, we need to go into a closed meeting with possible action after, is that correct?
There is likely going to be action afterward. This is being closed on the basis of attorney-client privilege. Those present will be the 5 commissioners, your county administrator, and then Mark Telecki of Environmental Services.
Again, this is regarding
Regarding the Green Force recycling contracts that we had.
All right. Motion to go into closed meeting?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Luthens, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it'll take a minute to clear and go into closed meeting.